Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha 4, day 91, page 228. Yeah, to 228. So we are on Siman Lamed Aleph, right? Halacha, hey. Okay? Chol Hamoed. Yeah, everyone listening, Chol Hamoed. Just as it is forbidden to wear tefillin on Shabbat and Yom Tov, it is forbidden to wear it on Chol Hamoed as well. The days of Chol Hamoed also have the status of an ot. You remember yesterday we mentioned that because of the ot of Shabbat and Yom Tov, you're not supposed to wear the ot of the tefillin. So the same thing, Chol Hamoed is also called an ot. And if someone would wear tefillin, it would be disrespectful to that ot. This is the ruling of the Shulchan Aruch and the Arizal HaKadosh, and all the Sephardic Jews follow this ruling. So to merit, Ashkenazim, there are some Ashkenazi communities outside the land of Israel where the custom is to wear tefillin on Chol Hamoed. But they don't make a bracha. Even though no bracha is made, it is forbidden for them to interrupt when they're putting them on. And this is explained in Siman 25:51. Number 250 on the bottom. A debate between the Rishonim. The Tur comes and he quotes that some Rishonim are unsure whether there's a mitzvah to put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed or not. And therefore, you put on tefillin without a bracha. He testified that his father, the Rosh, put on tefillin each day of Chol Hamoed, and he said a bracha. Yeah, he said a bracha. The Gemara says that Shabbat and Yom Tov are excluded from the mitzvah because they are an ot. And the Bet Yosef explained that this status is not due to the fact that it's forbidden to do melacha. Since the days of Chol Hamoed, you are allowed to do melacha. The 7 days of Pesach, the status of an ot, since it's forbidden to eat chametz. And Sukkot also because it's forbidden to eat bread outside of the sukkah. Despite this, Tosafot actually brought down the Talmud Yerushalmi, ruling that there's an obligation to wear tefillin in Chol Hamoed. So it's a Yerushalmi. Tosafot and Yerushalmi. You're obligated to wear tefillin during Chol Hamoed. The Rosh quotes the Tosafot, and he concluded that the halacha follows the ruling of the Talmud Yerushalmi. He adds that the Bavli does not necessarily disagree with this, and that only the days when it is forbidden to perform halacha, it's an ot. So the Rosh rejected the ruling of the Gaon, right, forbidding to wear tefillin in Chol Hamoed, and concluded that although some people choose to refrain from putting on tefillin, right, you don't lose anything by even saying a bracha. The Mordechai citing the Ri said that we are obligated to wear tefillin during Chol Hamoed following the Talmud Yerushalmi, adding that according to the seven mitzvot katan, the samak and the truma, you should not put it on, you should not make a bracha. But according to the Maharam Rotenburg, you do make a bracha. Now you understand why the Rosh made a bracha. The Rosh was a Talmid of the Maharam Rotenburg. Okay, the Rashba ruled that one must not wear tefillin during Chol Hamoed, adding that this is the opinion of the Tosafot and Rabbeinu Avraham Bar David, right, the Ravad, and this is the common custom. What is the conclusion of the Bet Yosef and the Ramah? After citing all the above, the Bet Yosef testified that the custom of all Sephardic Jews is not to wear tefillin in Chol Hamoed. He added that he was told that the custom once followed the Rosh, but after discovering the Zohar HaKadosh, and the Zohar HaKadosh says according to the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that you're not allowed to wear it, so therefore you're not allowed to wear it. This history of development of the custom was recorded in the response of Rabbi Yitzchak Karo, an uncle of the author of the Bet Yosef. Right? So he says the Bet Yosef concluded that since the Talmud Bavli does not discuss the subject, and the Zohar does mention it, we go by the Zohar. Okay, and that's the Psak Halacha of the Shulchan Aruch.
So the Ashkenazim don't go by the Zohar?
No, because when you have a Gemara and Zohar, the Ashkenazim go like the Zohar. According to the Maran, according to the Gemara, not like the Zohar. Right? Sorry, according to the Gemara. Now the problem though is, what happens if the Gemara is not arguing on the Zohar? So on that, the Bet Yosef says we go like the Zohar. So here there's no Gemara, so we go like the Zohar. So he comes and he says, the Ramah, there's a Yerushalmi. Okay? So, Talmud Yerushalmi. Okay? So he says the Ramah, he comes and he testified that in communities of his part of the world, they do put it on and they make a bracha even, following the Rosh. Nevertheless, they do not say the bracha out loud. They do it quietly. And the Mishnah Berurah says that this is in order to avoid, right, fomenting arguments amongst the people in the synagogue. Right? What about Sephardic Jews? So all Sephardic Jews, whether residing in the land of Israel or outside, they follow the rules of the Shulchan Aruch. You're not allowed to. Okay, based on the Zohar HaKadosh. This is likewise the ruling of the Shara Kavanot and the Kavachim Sofer. There's no exceptions to this in any Sephardic community anywhere in the world. Meaning anywhere in the world, all Sephardim are the same. Nobody puts on tefillin. What about Ashkenazic Jews? Although the Ramah ruled that people must put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed and even make a bracha, there are Acharim that they agreed to the Tur Zahav's ruling, right? Tur Zahav, this is the Taz, right? Rabbi Dawid Levi, that he says that one must not make a bracha when putting them on, based on the principles of Ebrach Olakel. That Gaon Mevina argued right? That there's no Talmudic source suggesting that one must put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. Since the time this ruling was issued, the Jews of Vilna and all the surrounding communities ceased putting on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. Meaning, according to the Gaon of Vilna, you do not put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. He's Ashkenaz. So that's why I don't know if I ever told you that the Gaon of Vilna in Eretz Yisrael, it's always minhag of the Gra. And since it's minhag of Gra, that's why the Ashkenazim also do Birkat Kohanim every single day. Because, of course, that's a Gaon. The Gaon of Vilna, right? That's why that means in Eretz Yisrael it's minhag agra. Very, very important. So that's what we're saying here. The Mishnah Berurah, however, ruled that people should put on tefillin without reciting the bracha. Apparently, the influence of Rav Eliyahu did not spread to Polish Lithuania. According to the Sefer Zikaron, right, Mevakshe Torah, and the Kobetz Tel Talpiot, the Rav Shach put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed while he lived in Europe. Rav Mordechai Gross testified that Rav Shach told him that all Lithuanian Jews, other than those in the province of Vilna, would put on during the Chol Hamoed. The author of the Shulchan Aruch, right, the Ruch HaShulchan, sorry, who lived in the Lithuanian city of Nevardok, testified that Ashkenazic Jews put on tefillin without the bracha, and added that this is the proper procedure. Recognizing the debate regarding this, he ruled that everyone that should follow the tradition of his own community, adding the number of Ashkenazic communities where the people are refraining from putting on tefillin was steadily increasing. In fact, the author of the Hechal of Ram Botchach, he confessed that in his youth he used to put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed, but then he stopped. Rav Yosef David Soloveitchik, this is the author of the Bet Alvi, also put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed, but his son Rav Chaim of Brisk and his grandson Rav Yitzchak Zev did not. According to the Agadah Shel Pesach mi Bet Levi, the Tshuvot Vanagot testified that Rav Yitzchak Zev became bar mitzvah on Chol Hamoed Sukkot, and on that day he put on tefillin since his father felt that this was the proper way to become bar mitzvah. Although his custom was not to wear tefillin on Chol Hamoed. See the response to the Divrei Tziv. Rav Moshe Sofer, this is of the Chatam Sofer, rabbi of Presburg, right, in Hungary. He had the custom of putting on tefillin during Chol Hamoed, according to the testimony of Minagea Chatam Sofer. His father-in-law, Rav Akiva Eger, complained about those communities where people did not put on tefillin, according to the Grot Sofrim. Among Hasidic communities who generally follow the teachings of the Rizal, no one puts on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. Nevertheless, Ota Chaim Shalom testified that Rav Chaim Halberstam, the author of Divrei Chaim, instructed unmarried men to put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed, while he instructed married men not to put on tefillin. So all this applies to communities in countries outside of the land of Israel. In the land of Israel, however, all Jews refrain from putting on tefillin on Chol Hamoed, whether they're Sephardic, Ashkenazic, Chassidic, or otherwise. This follows the ruling of the Shevet HaLevi, Harav Yechiel Michael Tukachinsky, in the Luach HaRetz Yisrael, Ot Chaim V'Shalom. The response of the Yetziv added that even people who had the practice of putting on the tefillin while they recited in Chutz Haaretz, after getting into Israel, they stop. Right? What about in public? The Magen Avraham says that one must not wear tefillin in public during Chol Hamoed. They should wear it only in the synagogue. Right? The Aliyah Rabbi disagreed, reasoning that people put on tefillin in view of everybody, also in the synagogue. So there's no difference between outside or inside. The Pri Megadim, he says no. He says that if women see men wearing tefillin in the street, they might come to think that it's an ordinary weekday, and therefore they could do melacha, which they're not allowed to. Right? That means they have to do only pil melachot, which are permitted. Rav Shlomo Zaben Orbach, right, and Rav Moshe Feinstein ruled that although many Jews observe the practice of putting on tefillin during Chol Hamoed while residing in other countries, once they emigrate to Israel, they no longer need to continue that practice. If anyone insists on continuing it, he may put on tefillin only in total privacy, without saying the bracha, and he has to stipulate that he's wearing them just in case the halacha requires it. The response of Shevet HaLevi concurred with this ruling, explaining that the practice of putting on tefillin was never accepted in the land of Israel. Right? He says Rav Yosef Shalom Eliashiv ruled that an immigrant to the land of Israel should not put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed unless he plans to move eventually to another country. Even then, he should put them on in complete privacy. Look in the Yisa Yosef, the Sefer Zikaron Mevakshe Torah testified that Rav Elazar ben Shach, he immigrated to the land of Israel, decided during the week after Yom Tov he should wear his tefillin extra hours to make up for the hours that he did not use it during that time. If an Ashkenazic Jew moves permanently from the land of Israel to another country, he should adopt the practice of putting on tefillin, but without a beracha. This is the ruling of the Shevet HaLevi. What about now tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam? So he says the Mishnah Berurah ruled that those people who wear the tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam every day should not put them on during Chol Hamoed. The Pri Megadim explained that this is based upon the fact that the Zohar says that a stern warning not to put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. Although some people they ignore this warning and put on tefillin, they shouldn't ignore it to do with tefillin Rabbeinu Tam. Furthermore, there's a sfek seika on which to rely. Perhaps the halacha is that we're exempt from tefillin at all, and even if you're obligated, maybe the halacha is like Rashi. So if our ruled that those who put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed, they could also put on Rabbeinu Tam. Right? The Rishon LeZion commented in a handwriting gloss in the margin of his copy of Yifel, this seems self-contradictory. If we wish to follow the Kabbalah and say that both sets of tefillin are valid and the Torah obligates us to wear both, then we must follow the Kabbalah and also refrain putting on during Chol Hamoed. And if we ignore the Kabbalah and say that there's an obligation to wear tefillin during Chol Hamoed, then we must follow the opinion that the mitzvah is to wear only one set of tefillin. Therefore, he agreed that those who put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed should not put on Rabbeinu Tam. That is the psak of Rav Ovadia. Meaning, if you want to put it on, you're going to put it on, but not of Rabbeinu Tam. Stipulating, the Mishabra ruled that those who put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed should stipulate as follows. If there's an obligation to put on the tefillin today, so my intention is to fulfill the mitzvah. But if there's no obligation, I have no intention of fulfilling the mitzvah. By declaring this, one avoids the prohibition of Bal Tosif, adding to the Torah's mitzvot. Furthermore, one avoids also disgracing the Yom Tov, the Ot of Yom Tov, since one has no intention of fulfilling the mitzvah if there's no obligation. This seems to be reasonable, and it seems to solve all the problems involved with putting on tefillin during Chol Hamoed. Nevertheless, we do not put on tefillin to declare this such the stipulation, since we follow the opinion of the Zohar. So for us, this doesn't start. The Mishmeneh Shalom Kaidanover, he suggested that the reason why we do not put on tefillin during Chol Hamoed with such a stipulation is because we are certain that the tefillin should not be used during those days. Although we acknowledge that there is an opinion saying that you do put them on, if the common practice was not to put them on, so therefore you do not need to do that. Okay, and that's exactly what we do.